Great. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Daiva. I work for the SDA, and I recently transitioned into this role, having served as the Chicago Region Program Manager for the past 3 years, in which I had the pleasure of working alongside Drew and other strong partners in our tree planting efforts in Northwest Indiana, as well as throughout the south suburbs of Chicago. I wanted to start with just a little background information about the SDA. We are a national nonprofit organization with a general mission to inspire the next generation in hands-on service to the land. The organization has been active for over 60 years and has been historically known more for our work placing interns and core teams in national parks across the country. I work within what we call our community programming department, which generally means our urban core teams. These teams take a typical core program model but bring them to major cities across the U.S. to perform important ecological work within urban settings. I've had the pleasure of managing our core program in Northwest Indiana since 2017. The idea behind this project was to support a team to work collaboratively under the Communitree model to engage the local municipalities and communities in urban forestry work. We sought the right players under the municipalities of East Chicago, Hammond, Whiting, and Gary to begin to get their support and generate interest. We would provide everything, the team, the trees, the tools, the event organization, the maintenance, but we ultimately needed their buy-in. We needed them to want the trees and understand and appreciate their value. They had the first say as to where they wanted these trees to go, and it has since snowballed. With this buy-in, we have successfully received grant funding for the past 3 years from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Chi-Cal Rivers Fund to support projects that benefit the health of the Grand Calumet and Little Calumet River watershed, an EPA-designated area of concern. Through grant support and through financial contributions from local corporations like ArcelorMittal and BP America, and through foundation support with the Legacy Foundation and cooperation with local government, we've been successfully planting and maintaining trees, engaging local communities, and training young people that are local in this critical watershed, and are generally creating excitement around urban forestry throughout this region. As Drew mentioned earlier, collaborating with municipal staff is key. You may find that some cities have a forestry department or a parks department or an arborist, which are great places to start. Otherwise, we have found that the key players within the public works, grounds and maintenance, or economic development departments are great places to start to learn and understand where the needs are for trees, especially through the lens of green infrastructure. Through establishing that trust and delivering good work, we have been able to leverage receiving access to municipal mulch, assistance with mulch or tree delivery to project sites, access to city water hydrant permits, and more. Taking the time to educate these audiences on the economic and health benefits of trees to their communities is very important, and sharing that understanding with the wider communities ultimately shows that you are invested and are an ally. So let's get down to some details. I'd like to start by sharing with you all our tree selection, prep, and planting methods that have proven successful. Our team primarily plants native hardwood species to the Midwest. This picture shows the typical sizes of trees that we plant. They are relatively young, but have proven to have high transplant survivability. We work with 2 main nurseries, one in Illinois and one in Indiana, that grow most of their trees from seed collected in the region. These trees are better adapted to our soils and climate. In preparation for our plantings, we have already considered where these trees may go, whether they're in city parks, along neighborhood streets, etc., and what species would do well in the soil conditions of the suggested planting area. We have primarily been using the root trapper bag model. You can see these bags pictured here. This growing method allows for a fibrous root system, which means a greater root tip surface area and translates to greater efficiency in the absorption of water and nutrients. Ultimately, this has led to an increase in growth rate and establishment, or a higher transplant survivability. Using anywhere from 7 to 18 gallon size bags, these can easily be maneuvered by 1 or 2 people and are very friendly to training new folks and volunteers in how to plant. There's definitely a lot of prep work that goes into planning for a planting project. Typically, multiple site visits are arranged before a planting occurs. We want to make sure we walk the site with the appropriate municipal contact, learn about the history of the space and its current use, and communicate with any other user groups. It has been key to know when a proposed planting site is used on the weekends for neighborhood soccer games, or if we're planting on top of what used to be a school or a building with a concrete foundation. Visiting the site after a rainfall is also helpful, just to see where water accumulates in determining appropriate species. Once the planting date is agreed upon, we start our community outreach. Utilizing our connections through Communitree, these plantings are cross-posted on local social media pages, listservs, and communicated throughout those areas surrounding the planting site. 2 or 3 days out from the event, we place flags where the trees are projected to go with suggested species written on the flags. We coordinate calling in the locates to 311. We secure a mulch delivery. And the day before a larger event, the SBA team will transport the trees to the site, stage them next to the flags where they are to be planted. If mulch is already on site, they will deliver smaller mulch piles next to each tree to minimize the work from volunteers. You can see the setup pictured on the bottom left. The morning of the planting, the SBA team arrives at least 2 hours before the workday begins to set out a pop-up tent, tables with safety gloves, safety glasses, sign-in sheets. Coffee and light snacks is always great. They delegate tasks and get to work by laying out tools, wheelbarrows, checking in folks as they arrive, and prepping a demonstration tree for the event. These larger volunteer planting events are key to the success of the program. It is because of these large public opportunities we are able to engage so many people in planting, anywhere from 25 to 100 trees in roughly 3 hours. Typically, our larger planting events are scheduled for Saturday mornings, roughly from 9 to noon. The SBA team will invite all volunteers at the beginning of an event to participate in a tree planting demo, where they methodically walk everyone through the important steps necessary to properly plant a tree and allow time for questions. The crew members model appropriate tool use, the importance of wearing personal protective equipment, and create connections immediately with individuals that come out to participate. Once the demonstration is complete, the crew breaks themselves up between groups of volunteers in efforts to provide guidance and foster group relationships and teamwork dynamics in those smaller groups. We often have repeat volunteers that can jump right into planting while the new volunteers walk through this process, and often those returning volunteers are utilized in the demonstration or are paired with groups of new people to share their expertise. We make sure to take plenty of pictures during the work days, especially of volunteers next to the trees they just planted, to share in future recruitment materials or on social media. Planting trees is tough work, but utilizing these tactics to highlight the teamwork and community building aspect is highly important. Through encouraging volunteers to take on leadership roles and through encouraging groups to mingle and work on a tree together, builds bonds and fosters new connections to your local green space. People truly take pride and ownership in the tree that they just helped to plant. Lastly, once all the volunteers have left for the day, the SBA crew cleans up the project site and takes GPS points of every tree planted using the Daiva Resource Group and U.S. Forest Service iTree application. This is crucial in being able to track our work and provide data for mapping purposes. A large number of our volunteers come from local schools and universities, like Drew earlier mentioned. Through performing outreach to school administrations, environmental science or ecology teachers, as well as the heads of different groups and clubs, we've been able to regularly engage students to come plant for many reasons, whether it's acquiring service hours, extra credit opportunities, or just pure enjoyment. We have successfully planted over 100 trees across the campus of Indiana University Northwest in Gary and helped them to attain the Tree Campus USA status by the Arbor Day Foundation, which was a huge feat for us and for the university. The SBA plantings have also, as Drew mentioned, been highlighted in a study on the Communitree initiative by Dr. Jeff Vogt of DePaul University, and we've had assistance from her students in creating some GIS mapping of a subset of our planting locations. We have also been able to plant on the grounds of a few elementary schools within East Chicago and Hammond, Indiana, and have been able to engage each grade in part of the planting process while finding ways to incorporate this hands-on project with current science curriculum standards. And I also wanted to mention here that we have also planned a few plantings of community orchards with local groups in Northwest Indiana through having access with our nurseries to native trees that could provide berries or other things that are edible, which has been a very popular part of our tree planting program. So we prioritize our planting efforts in the spring and fall months, but what happens in between? Our team manages the maintenance schedules for these trees. Every summer, the SDA crew has visited that year's newly planted trees and most of the previously planted trees on a weekly basis to provide water, at least 10 gallons per tree per week, using a retrofitted horse trailer that houses a 500-gallon water tank that hooks up to municipal hydrants. You can see that pictured here. This model was inspired by the Keep Indianapolis Beautiful's model for watering, and it works great. Aside from watering, as the crew visits sites, they perform needed weeding around trees, they apply fresh mulch, they check for any signs of damage or disease and keep notes for reporting out. They stake leaning trees to stabilize them, as well as remove old stakes from trees that have already been stabilized throughout the years. All of the watering of trees is done by hand, using 5-gallon buckets, and it's tough work. The crew prioritizes watering those trees that were planted in the spring of that year to establish them, as well as those planted the previous year. As you can see, these crew members work extremely hard, so we like to provide some training and workforce development opportunities for them to have a well-rounded experience. The manual labor is important, but the wraparound services and opportunities are key to setting these young people up for success. We offer informal trainings in plant and tree ID, formal in-house trainings in regards to using the truck, trailer, and tools. And we coordinate with partners that offer training, such as in urban forestry and 311 classes with the local utility companies. Alongside these trainings, we also provide opportunities to gain largely recognized certifications that can be highlighted on resumes, such as those listed here. We often offer these certifications in tandem with other local core programs to share resources and share on costs, and also provide opportunities for our crews to connect with other young adults in the region that may be doing similar work that they could be interested in the future. We offer professional development opportunities as well by hosting in-house trainings in some of the more soft skills, such as in budgeting and managing your paychecks, how to update or write a resume and cover letter, and more. We even host some recreational outings for the crew to explore their local resources through planning camping, hiking, or canoeing opportunities. These not only encourage building a strong group dynamic, but also allow members to experience the outdoors in new ways, building a deeper environmental awareness. The SBA generally strives to provide well-rounded experiences in core programs where young people do valuable work, gain valuable skills, but also feel valuable. We do pre- and post surveys for all of our teams, and this is a snapshot of our survey results from the Chicago Region core programming as a whole from 2019, which includes our Northwest Indiana team. As you can see, a majority of our core participants that exit our programs report feeling more confident in themselves, improvements in their communication skills, heightened conservation awareness, and a sense of direction in making changes in their lives. Tracking our work is extremely important when it comes to our external communication. Not only do we compile reports at the end of each program season to document our team's output, successes, and challenges, but we utilize the iTree Eco program to take GPS points as well to collect data for all of the trees that the team plants. We track information such as the species, the diameter at planting, the nursery the tree came from, among other things. And using this program, we are able to project out over time what ecosystem benefits that a particular tree, as well as the collection of trees, will have for the specified region. The iTree calculators can project out at maturity the pounds of carbon dioxide sequestered, the gallons of rainfall intercepted, the pounds of sulfur and nitrogen dioxide removed, and more. They can even associate dollar amounts to these calculations that assist in communicating the economical benefits of these trees to a specific region over time. The SCA crew participates in community events, urban waters partnership meetings, and presents to local chapters of Wild Ones or Rotary clubs, as well as others, just to share our work and communicate out these efforts. We truly believe that this collective impact model works, and utilizing a core program such as the SCA's meets many needs for communities that may not have the bandwidth to dedicate municipal staff and urban forestry efforts. This slide outlines some of those considerations that we hope you all reflect on in your own cities and departments when it comes to developing a successful urban forestry program. I would like to thank you again for inviting us to speak with you today, and now I believe we have some time to open up for questions.